So Tyler, how did drugs affect your family?
Oof, big time. Um, I mean, at first it was just I had no idea that my actions would devastate my parents as much as and my loved ones as much as it did. They were devastated. It kind of throws them into a whole tailspin. Like, where did I go wrong? What could I have done better? Um, One of the big things about having a relationship with your parents and your brothers, sisters, what have you, is trust, and all that trust is just completely gone. They can't trust you to be left alone. They can't trust you to be around money. They can't trust you, pretty much to make decisions for yourself because, oh God, he might drink again. He might do drugs again. Um, yeah, and it was just, seeing loved ones heartbroken is just a really, really horrible thing.
And have you ever had a friend or a family member who they themselves overdosed or
I've
died
had
because of their addictions?
Absolutely. I've had friends who have OD'd, and it's the only thing that's less pretty than them ODing on drugs is the reaction. The community and family reaction. You can tell the disappointment and the sadness. Your obituary is, unknown circumstances. You passed because of this, and it's hard for the family. There's no closure. It's really hard for them to reconcile what it is. Like, I'm still alive, so my parents can still continue to have this conversation about what could we have done better with me. But when they pass away, there's no having that conversation. Those people around you have to live with that grief.
And how did your friends react when they figured out that you did drugs? Did they react negatively or?
Well, a lot of my friends were doing drugs with me at first. But they all stopped and I kept going, if that makes sense. They all got their stuff together and I just kept partying. And I have to say one of the roughest things was slowly watching my friends stop hanging out with me, stop answering my phone calls, and all of a sudden I'm back to that guy again who's alone, has no friends, but this time for good reason. Best friends have stopped talking to me. And then it's just you and the drugs.
And were your relationships ruined with your family because of drugs and alcohol, or was it?
They were, so they're still working on it at the moment, but they were highly strained. I was supposed to be the golden boy, and I was president of my class, and I was doing meth on the weekends. It was really rough for them to come to grasp with that, and I think they're still dealing with that.
Thank you, Tyler.
If I could interject just a second, one of the other things that Jacob's Ladder has been, we've tried to do, Dr. Blankenship's made it a point to have family be part of the recovery process. So there's a 3-month visit that these guys get to have family or loved ones come up and visit on site. They meet with our treatment team. They discuss what's been going on and what types of things might be helpful going forward. And then there's another 5-month visit, I think that's correct, yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. So the family can come back again and kind of transition to when these guys get out of the treatment program, what can happen. All of that is also wrapped into something that we call an unconditional positive regard for ourselves, our environment, and each other. And I think that's one of the great things that I've been able to see as these guys and their families. Some of the guys who've come through the program, the family's not part of their life anymore. Mom says, I don't want anything to do with him, or dad is not around, or and that's tough to see. Coming from a family whose parents are always there through thick or thin, and these guys, I've met their families when they've come up and visited as well. But I think one of the biggest things is breaking that stigma that just because someone has done drugs or has drank too much or whatever, it's bad. There are lots of bad things that come out of it, but it doesn't change. It doesn't make that person's worth any less. And some guys understand that. Some guys that come into our program don't. They're at that point where they don't see the worth anymore. And I guess as we talk to young people out there who might be struggling with that, whether it's depression or anxiety or whatever reason it might be there. It's something that you're struggling with. It's something that's dangerous. It's something that you should hopefully seek help for, but it doesn't make you any less of a person. because you're struggling with that. And there are people out there that want to help you. And hopefully that's your family and friends, but if it's not, there are people that want to help, and there are resources that you can find that will help you try to get your life back in order. So that's the only thing I wanted to interject from a family standpoint, that it's great to have that support structure there. And it's hard, as Tyler said, it makes it hard to, families struggle with that, how did this happen to our son or our daughter? But that doesn't mean that something can't work out. So
All right.
sorry to cut in.
That's fine. Thank you, Mark. Paul, what would you say for how drugs have affected your family?
Sure. So I have 3 younger sisters. I'm the oldest of 4. Mom and dad still married, and my addiction has really caused a lot of turmoil in the family. From a place like Tyler was talking about trust, growing up there was pretty much trusted me for the most part. But slowly through my addiction, actually within like 6 months, I started stealing from my family, and just the manipulation and kind of deceit that I was causing on them, or doing to them, just really destroyed that trust. And my sisters and my mom and dad had to have stable boundaries. I mean, for a while, like, I would try to looking back at it, I was manipulating them to, like, I was just trying to survive at some point. Like, I just got out of jail, and I was living at home. I begged my parents to come back home, and my mom's letting me drink in the basement and watch TV. But at least I'm not doing these other drugs, and that was really enabling me. But it's not her fault. It's that unconditional love that families have, and it gets skewed along the way. So the best thing they did for me was to kick me out. They really had strong boundaries, and they started to develop them. And from a place of I could be home anytime, nobody was home when I was younger, to you're not allowed home unless we're there, and then to a point of we can't have you even around, because we know the moment you are alone, you're going to try to take something, and that's where my addiction took me. I had all the shame and guilt of all of that, but I continued to do it anyways. And even to a point of, like, if you come around, we're going to have to call the police. And that really hurts. And but at the same time, it's what I needed to, like, kind of give me a shock, like snap me out of it a little bit. It didn't stop my addiction, but it began the process in my mind, like, maybe this is obviously a problem, but I didn't really see it as that for a while. Again, I thought everyone was against me, and I finally found something that kind of made me happy, and I thought everyone was against my happiness. There's this really twisted there's this twisted thinking, and I needed those things to kind of snap me out of it. My mom said, it's hard hearing my mom saying, like, the best sleep she's ever gotten is during my addictions, when I was in jail, because she knew I was at least safe somewhere. I was, or relatively safe. She knew where I was. That's really hard to hear, because she didn't know at any time she'd get a phone call saying, I was in an accident, or I overdosed, and that was really awakening to me, just to see how it impacts everyone else around me. Because for me, I've really learned that the self-centeredness that comes with addiction. I'm so self-consumed and worried about me that I don't think about anyone else. And I want to think about everyone else. When I'm sober, I consider myself a very caring person and reach out to others. When I'm in my addiction, I'm completely the opposite, and yeah, it's just really hard to see. Like, I've never seen my dad cry, and when he talks about my addiction, he starts crying, and that's just, it's eye-opening to me. And yeah, I still have the family support. They've stuck by me, but it's only until I'm ready to get help, because they understand that, like, there's only so much you can do for somebody that's addicted. I mean, you tell them we're here for you, and when you're ready, we'll be right there. But until you make that choice to change, want to do something different, it's really hard to help somebody. And that's, I mean, it's pretty sad, but it's that, like I said, when I got to a point of that self-consumption, self-centeredness, it's hard to pull you out of it. I need like wake-up calls, and yeah, so it really has affected my family, and I'm glad that I have, like, again, I'm glad I have another chance, that they haven't completely wrote me off. And at a certain point, they had to say too, because I was causing so much pain, that they had to accept the fact. I mean, my mom told me, it's like, she had to accept the fact that I probably was gonna die, and just the utter destruction that was going on. And I mean, that's not my mom, talking. She wouldn't just say that off a whim. That was just so much pain over the years that, like, and again, that was really hard to hear, but it's what I needed to hear. And it wakes me up that, like, well, maybe, I mean, that's the truth. I mean, I'm gonna die, and yeah, I'm glad I still have support, and I'm starting to mend that relationship.
Can I ask a question
Yeah.
related to family and when you first started using drugs, or both of you? I'm a parent of a 15-year-old, and I believe that he understands that drugs are bad, but if something happened, I think you said, drinking and smoking pot, did your family's reaction to when you first started with your drug use or alcohol use, did your family's reaction to that in any way affect your desire to go forward, or to think about stopping, or was it a non-factor, or would anything your family would have done at that point affected your path down addiction? I remember getting in trouble, getting grounded, and then they found out I was smoking pot, and I told them I was gonna stop, and I meant it. Like, I saw some of the trouble I was getting in, and but how fast I just didn't, or I went back to it. And I think it's really hard, because something wants me, the independence of, like, wanting to separate from like, be independent from myself, and I can make my own choices. And so maybe nothing that they would have done would have had any effect, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish there was something that could be done. Yeah, I think just not encouraging. I mean, obviously not encouraging her, like, that's no problem. Really, just the continuing of, like, this is going to lead you down another path. I remember my mom always saying, like, when I was getting in trouble, like, we can't help you when you go to jail. We can't. And that didn't really stop me, but I remember her saying that. And then I was one day in jail, and I remember her saying that, and I was like, I should have listened. And it's just, I don't know, it's just hard.
Any thoughts, Tyler, on that?
I mean, when I was in high school, the name of the game was not getting caught. So I spent all my time trying not to get caught. At that age, you have a lot of time to think about stuff. I did get caught twice, and I got in trouble. My parents gave me a stern talking to, but At that age, I didn't really realize what the consequences were. I didn't understand that they were saying, this is what happens if you continue to do this. I thought, not me. There's no way it could be me. There's no way that I could get in trouble. I'm not that bad. I think they're just being strict. Yeah, I wasn't at a place where I was ready to listen.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yep.